as he said, thanks for coming out on the cold night. And as you can see, it's a biggish book. So what I think I'll do is read 3 short sections from it so you get a feel for the kinds of landscapes the book moves through and also for the various people who are in it. So the first section that I'm going to read is the very first chapter of the book. It is called Policeman's Day, in which 2 policemen go about an ordinary day in Bombay. One is an inspector, which is equivalent sort of to the American sergeant, named Sartaj Singh, who's a Sikh, and his colleague is Katekar, who's a constable. And so in the morning they go and look into a domestic dispute. They then go back to the station, the police station, and do some paperwork. They have lunch. And now in the late afternoon, they've driven across town on a very, very important errand. They pulled into a narrow parking space in front of the Sindoor restaurant, fine Indian and continental dining. Sartaj reached back behind his seat for a white Air India bag. He squeezed out past a Peugeot, past a Panwala at the gate, and then waited for a line of white-shirted executives to pass. From where he was standing, he could see, at a diagonal across the road, a large white sign with red lettering, Delight Dance Bar and Restaurant. Sartaj's shirt was drenched, plastered to his back from the shoulders to the belt. Inside Sindoor, the decor was altogether wedding shamiana down to the band instruments behind the cashier's booth and the mehndi frills around the edges of the menu. Katekar sat across from Sartaj in a 4-customer booth, and they both lowered their heads gratefully under the heavy wash of cold air from a vent just above. A waiter brought 2 Pepsis, and they both gulped fast, but before they were halfway through, Shambhu Shetty was with them. He slid smoothly in next to Sartaj, neat and trim as always in blue jeans and a blue denim shirt. "Hello, Sab. All good, Shambhu?" "Yes, Sab." Shambhu shook hands with both of them. Sartaj had his usual moment of envy for the iron of Shambhu's grip, for his taut shoulders and his smooth 24-year-old face. Once, the year before, he had leaned back in the booth and raised his shirt and shown them his biscuited belly, the little triangles of muscle rising up to his chest. A waiter brought Shambhu a fresh pineapple juice. He never drank aerated drinks or anything with sugar in it. "Been trekking, Shambhu?" Katekar said. "Going early next week, my friend, to Pindari Glacier." On the red rexine of the seat between Sartaj and Shambhu, there was a heavy brown envelope. Sartaj slid it into his lap and raised the flap. Inside, there were the usual 10 stacks of 100-rupee notes, stapled and rubber-banded by the bank into little 10,000-rupee bricks. "Pindari," Katekar said. Shambhu was amazed. "Boss, do you ever leave Bombay? Pindari is in the Himalayas, above Nainital." "Ah," Katekar said. "Gone for how long?" 10 days. Don't worry. I'll be back by next time." Sartaj pulled the Air India bag from between his feet, unzipped it, and slid the envelope in. The station and the Delight Dance Bar had a arrangement. Shambhu and he were merely representatives of the 2 organizations, dispensing and collecting. The money was not personal, and they had been seeing each other for a year and some months now, ever since Shambhu had taken over as manager of Delight, and they had grown to like each other. He was a good fellow, Shambhu, efficient, low profile, and very fit. He was trying to persuade Katekar to climb mountains. "It'll clear out your head," Shambhu said. "Why do you think the great yogis always did tapasya way up there? It's the air. It improves meditation, brings peace. It's good for you." Katekar raised his empty Pepsi glass. "My tapasya is here, brother. Here only I find enlightenment every night." Shambhu laughed and clinked glasses with Katekar. "Don't burn us with your fierce austerities, O master. I'll have to send apsaras to distract you." They giggled together, and Sartaj had to smile at the thought of Katekar seated cross-legged on a deerskin, glowing with pent-up energy. He tugged at the zipper on the bag and nudged Shambhu with his elbow. "Listen, Shambhu Rishi," Sartaj said. "We have to do a raid." "What, again? We just had one not 5 weeks ago." About 7, I think. Almost 2 months. But Shambhu, the government's changed. Things have changed. Things had indeed changed. The Rakshaks were the new government in the state. What had once been a muscular right-wing organization, proud of its disciplined and looming cadres, was now trying to become a party of statesmen. As state ministers and cabinet secretaries, they had toned down their ranting nationalism, but they would not give up their battle against cultural degeneration and Western corruption. They promised to reform the city, Sartaj said. Yes, Shambhu said, that bastard Bipin Bhosle. All those speeches about cleaning up corruption since he became minister. And what's all that noise about protecting Indian culture he's been throwing around lately? What are we but Indian? And aren't we protecting our culture also? Aren't the girls doing Indian dances? They were doing that exactly, spinning under disco lights to filmy music, quite respectably covered up in cholis and saris, while men held up fans of 20 and 50 rupee notes for them to pick from. But the Delight Dance Bar as a temple of culture was an audacity that silenced Sartaj and Katekar completely. Then they both said, Shambhu together, and he held up his hands. Okay, when? Next week, Sartaj said. Do it before I leave, Monday. Fine, midnight then. Under the new edict, the bars were supposed to close at 11:30. Oh, come, Saab. You're taking the rotis from the mouths of poor girls. That's too early. 12:30. At least one, please. Have some mercy. As it is, that's half the night's earning gone. 1 then, but you better still have some girls there when we come in. We'll have to arrest some. That bastard Bhosle. Close down the bars, but what is this new shosha of arresting girls? Why? What for? All they're trying to do is make a living. The new shosha is ruthless discipline and honesty, Shambhu. 5 girls in the van. Ask for volunteers. They can give whatever names they like, and it'll be short. Home by 3:30. We'll drop them. Shambhu nodded. He did really seem to like his girls, and they him, and from what Sartaj heard, he never tried to push his take of the dancers' tips beyond the standard 60%. From the really popular ones, he took only 40. A happy girl is a better earner, he had once said to Sartaj. He was a good businessman. Sartaj had great hopes for him. Okay, boss, Shambhu said. We'll be organized, no problem. Outside, he walked in front of the gypsy as they backed out into the thickening traffic, grinning and grinning. What? Sartaj said. Saab, if I can tell the girls you are coming on the raid, you, your very own self, I bet I'll get 10 volunteers. Listen, Chutia, Sartaj said. 12 even, if you escorted them in the van, Shambhu said. That Manika asks about you all the time. So brave he is, she says, so handsome. Kartikar was very serious. I know her, he said. Nice home-loving girl. Fair complexioned, Shambhu said. Good at cooking, embroidery. Bastards, Sartaj said. Come on, Kartikar, drive. We are late. Kartikar drove, making no attempt to hide a smile as big as Shambhu's. A swarm of sparrows dipped crazily out of the sky, grazing the bonnet of the gypsy. It was almost evening. There was a murder waiting at the station for them. Majid Khan, who was the senior inspector on duty, said it had been half an hour since the call had come in from Navnagar, from the Bengali Bura. There's nobody else here to take it, he said. Falls to you, Sartaj. Sartaj nodded. A murder case 3 hours before the end of the shift was something that the other officers would be happy to have missed, unless it was specially interesting. The Bengali Bura in Navnagar was very poor, and dead bodies there were just dead, devoid of any enlivening possibilities of professional praise or press or money. Have a cup of tea, Sartaj, Majid said. He flipped through the stacks of Delight money and then put them in the drawer on the right-hand side of the desk. Later, he would move the money to the locker of the Godrej cupboard behind his desk, where the larger part of the operating budget of the station was kept.